What's happening tonight in the as they say in the studio? We have Michael Roser. Welcome, brother. Good to see you again.
Thanks for having me once again, my friend. Happy to be
Also,
here.
also known as Darkhour Paranormal, also known as the goat of the paranormal.
Billy
So, what
Goat
do you
Gruff.
Let's do we'll do a little roll call in a second, and then we'll dive into what you've been up to because it's been a while. It's been a while since we've had you here. And I was just saying, it's so crazy because like when I started Subscribers Sunday, like I was such a nervous wreck. And that's going so far back, but you used to
I
like help
remember.
me out.
I
You used to
remember.
help me out in the beginning and like kind of like co-host it with me, and like
It
it's
was
just
fun
so
to see you
fun.
come into your own, though. I mean, you had it already. It was just a matter of filling the shoes. That was it.
Oh yeah, yeah, it was all nerves. It still gets weird. Like it still gets so weird to hit to hit live. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I could sit there and chop it up with people and like be the most brilliant person on earth and have the most profound things to say, and then I hit live and I'm like I never noticed that with you though. You always seem so coordinated and like well thought out and like I don't know. You always got your ducks in a row to say the least.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad that's what it looks like. A lot of that comes from my experience, doing performance art. It certainly, music is a big thing. You get on stage, yes, you have your instruments, but you have to entertain the audience in a very specific manner. Doing stand-up comedy for the number of years that I did, that was, the most difficult gig because you didn't have anything to, fall back on. But as long as I've been performing in one manner or another, and again, I was a professional magician for some years as well. And you want to talk about your mind getting in the way, thinking that
Oh
somebody
yeah.
saw the slight that you did or that you flashed real quick when in fact you didn't. There's a temperament and discipline that goes into that type of that understanding when you're doing that type of performance art. So, long story short, even though I've been doing this for a very long time, I've noticed there's a rule that has always been around, and that is if you're not nervous before any sort of show that you're going to do, it's going to be a bad show. It's going to suck. So you want to have a little bit of nerves there because maybe it pumps the adrenaline. I don't know. But I've noticed there's some weird consistent pattern there, and I think some of you performers out there might agree with me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all about like it's all hyping yourself up too, right? Like, I mean, not to say that like the people in the stands don't matter, but like, I mean, at the end of the day, why are you putting so much pressure on yourself about them out there? You know what I mean? Like, they're there for you. They're already there for you. So like, all you really got to do is be you because they're already there for you. They want to see you. So like, you just need to just give them what they've already gotten, what give them the reason they're there for, right? Which is whatever it is, whether it's you being genuine and truthful, or a great bass player, or a magician, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? They're
Yep,
already there.
absolutely.
So
That's a great point, Mike.
hey, Mike 1 and 2. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in.
Fill the seats.
Yeah. Hey, yo, boo boo. Man. Okay. When I did my first podcast, I was nervous, especially when it was Jessica Jones, the Cryptid Huntress. Yeah,
Yeah, I get that. Certainly.
yeah, yeah.
But she's another person that is so easy to talk to. When I went on Spaced Out
True.
Radio with her, it was such a fluid conversation, and I really appreciate people who can, you know, if they ask you a question and you answer it very comprehensively, leaving room for follow ups, that they do just that. They follow up on what you're saying. You know what I mean? I've been in interviews where that doesn't happen.
100%. hundred
Yeah, it
percent.
becomes like one dimensional at that point. So
It's almost like
this is
they just
awesome.
have something laid out, and then
Yes.
when you're done talking, they're just waiting for their turn to just ask the next question, and you know, it's kind of just filling dead air, right? And yeah,
100%,
I
yeah.
agree. I agree. Jay Jones is the best with that. Like she's very in tune with her chat and in tune with like the person sitting up there with her.
Hmm.
Yeah, very very good at what she does. You know, I'm by no means like podcasting. Like I just said it the other day, I'll get out podcasted every single day. Because it's not what I do. You know what I mean? It's just I want to bring other good people up here and like introduce them, you know, and and find out what other good people are doing out there, and bring it to the people who are here. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you guys
I
still get
certainly do.
nervous? Yeah. Nez, hey, how you know? Oh, Goomba Gambino. It's weird. I swear to God, I just got this thing online. Just sorry, sidebar. And it was like YouTube gave me this like little quiz, like guess where the most your viewers come from, uh, besides the U.S. And it was like three multiple choice, and it was like Australia, Canada, and the UK, and I was like,
Is that the recap?
maybe yeah, the
Weekly? Yeah.
weekly
Okay. Yep.
recap, yeah,
Yep.
and I clicked UK, and it was like yes, and it was like literally it's like so many percentages from the UK. It's crazy. So I
That
don't
is
know.
cool.
Pretty interesting.
Well, hello
So
to all of you across the big pond.
yeah, Alan. Good evening. So yeah, goodbye. So cheerio. I was trying to think when I'm talking to Elena. I'm like I never know what the hell you guys say. Sometimes it sounds like another language.
That's so
So
funny.
let's dive in. Let's dive into you. Let's. I've wasted enough time here. Um, so man, like there's so many avenues we could go down with you. Like there's so many avenues. It's so ridiculous. You're such a multifaceted, like anomaly chasing, paranormal guru. And like, but of course, I want to go to Montauk, right? I want to dive in there because I I still watch the Montauk Enigma probably once a month. I'm like, oh, like I want to go back. I go back and watch it, and I don't like to watch stuff that I'm in, but that particular you did it so well that like, and to think that like you were just kind of like I don't know, like I was just talking about it. I stopped by Brian's yesterday, and I was just talking about it. I'm like, he's grown so much since then. When you think about it too, like he's gotten better and better and better and better. And I don't know, that documentary was insane. It was really, really well done. So I'll leave you
Thank
there,
you.
and you could tell us what you're up to.
Thank you very much, man. You get some very kind words, and I very much appreciate that. You're right. When I did the Montauk Enigma, it was the first full length. Well, in terms of time, it was the first full length documentary that I was producing. The one that I had done prior to that was America's Stonehenge, which was good too. I mean, I'll go revisit that every once in a while, and I see some of the cues that I had kind of incorporated, and I said, oh well, that's cool. When I didn't think about it, when I created it, it was more intuitive. So going out to Montauk to spend time with you and Brian Minnick, it was a very special time to do that type of thing. And yes, we were there during the cyclical pattern of Montauk and the Earth's biorhythms. We were there at the right time, and Peter Moon was going to join up with us. So there was a lot on the table, and even going back today, just again to revisit the Montauk Enigma, I find things that I missed. While I had put it together, I'd watched it prior to. Just little details that I'm like, oh wow, I didn't notice that before. So there's always something I'm pulling out of some of these documentaries. And, even though the Montauk Enigma was more of a personal journey for myself, kind of figuring out, certain aspects of the project. Why was I being called to Montauk? The feelings that I had just prior to going out there were, parallel to what you would describe as extreme anxiety, hesitance, but yet there was this violent roar in the back of your mind that was just pulling you towards Montauk. And getting out there, as soon as I realized that once I was there, I was never going to leave, that's when things sort of sunk in for me, and then the information started coming to me in various ways, peripherally or otherwise, more directly. So, as time went on, I kind of understood my part in the Montauk Project in respect to the history and then what we were doing presently with the healing. And that was what I kind of latched onto and focused for myself, moving forward with anything having to do with Montauk, because let's face it, it's very easy to get caught up in the drama of what happened there, all the terrible things that went on. It's beyond the human mind in the normal sense to think about things like that, or even execute those, or imagine that they could have been executed in a behavioral sense. So it fascinates us and fills us with a sense of dread and awe. Now, of course, we can get on with that, but at the end of the day, the project itself that we knew it as is over. The key players, the whistleblowers that were, the ones to bring this about, they're not
Right.
with us anymore in the physical. So what do we bring to this new era of research and information when it comes to that particular place? Well, you've got to bring what's natural, and what's natural for us right now, and you can talk to the survivors, which is what the second documentary is really all about. And they're going to tell you it's about the healing journey that they're now all on. The trauma has happened, they have survived, and now it's about picking up the pieces and finding out where they went and building yourself anew based on those experiences that you had. Now, for those of you out there thinking, well, we don't really know if the Montauk Project existed. Well, here's the thing. Peripherally, we do, because there have been other endeavors that have been described within the techniques of what was used in Montauk. There are other endeavors that certainly executed those, and they were brought to the public. MK Ultra is the first example of that. Beginning in Canada, being executed down here in the States as well, under the same umbrella, with no consent. Taking the vulnerable ones, those that were, more vagrant in a sense, committed to an asylum at that time. Nobody was really paying attention. And sure enough, they were doing what they were doing, mind control experiments. And they were, playing with, the psychic activity of a person's mind, getting to a certain point, substances that they were pumping into folks. And they were doing it in such a consistent way that it was like lab rats. It was what these people turned into. And, a lot of them didn't survive. But, those who did, we certainly hear about those experiences, and there were congressional hearings that were held for those people so that they would get reparations from what happened. And yes, there were only a handful that ended up getting, $100,000 here or there. It was really nothing.
Right. Right. Yeah. What's that when you got no? Yeah.
So
this kind of ties into it. What Cora's asking, do you know Arkeem? And
yes,
we do. We absolutely do.
he's in the second documentary.
He was in Montauk. Yes, he is in the second documentary. I mean, we were in the same house. We spent a week with him. Great fella, really, really, really great guy. Everybody is, they all were. It really just, I won't talk about the guy too much, but absolutely, we know him, and he's a great guy.
Very nice dude. Very nice dude. Very genuine.
One thing I'll never forget about him is he was carrying around this crystal ball that had to weigh, I don't know, it was bigger than a bowling ball. Did you see him carrying that around?
I didn't see it. I missed that.
When we went to see USS Eldridge or whatever, I believe that was the day he was carrying around this. I mean, maybe it was Celian, that clear. Yes, it was a huge one. I mean, I'm talking a huge, big crystal ball, and he was carrying it around like, oh, it was so funny. Yeah, he was dedicated, man, dedicated. It had to be uncomfortable to carry it around.
I'm sure he had it for a purpose,
Yes.
We all had a purpose while we were there. I mean, nobody was going on vacation, but it was quite the experience. But yes, in that second documentary that I'm just finishing up now, you guys will see some of the conversations and interviews that were conducted. And then, there's a lot of great visuals when it comes to Camp Hero and getting inside some of those buildings that, for whatever reason, the year that we went, I was not this past year, but the year before, these buildings were open that we could get in there. I mean, not in the most legal of senses. You weren't supposed to be there, but you traipse in and you take a few shots with the camera, you talk about it, and you dip. That's it.
Yeah, well, it was necessary to do that. Yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
I can't even. When I look back at that day you're talking about, we moved very efficiently.
Hmm.
I mean, you know what I mean, right? Like
Absolutely.
we moved very efficiently that day. Like we it was like ding ding ding, like there was barely any conversation. If there was any, it was like we just knew where we needed to go and what we needed to do next, and like it was like boop boop boop. I'll hold this for you, you do that, I'll get in here, I'll climb down there, grab my camera, hold this while I dive down in this hole, and like, you know what I
Yep.
mean? It was like it was ding 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 ding, ding, like everything was just very fluid. And then, of course, something always goes wrong, right? You get like Kiggers one year, you guys got
Oh,
attacked
dude, that
by.
was that same year. That
I
sucked.
got, I got stung right in my eye by, I went to like
Same year.
jokingly like do something stupid, and like I don't know, like I was like hiding from you at like one point,
Yeah,
like I
you're
was
like
like,
throwing
oh,
shit
it'd
at
be
me.
funny, and like all of a sudden this bee was just like, and I was just like, boom, my eye was like this. I was driving back from Montauk, like what literally like, when you're drunk and you try to drive with one eye.
The
Don't
one-eyed
do that at
drive.
home, kids. But you know what I mean. Um, it was bad. Some
That
of
was a
it's
hell of
good
a year,
stuff.
though. We did really well to what we were capturing, and we did cover a lot of that ground. But it seems that every time we go out that way, something clicks for us, whether it be plans or what we're actually doing in the field. There's a synchronicity that we all experience collectively, and it's happened for the last 3 years that we've been there.
Hey, carry on. I'll be right back. Sorry, I gotta run to
Yeah,
my door.
yeah. Attaboy. Hey, company during the show, so it's a live audience, folks. Come on in. But yeah, it's very curious, how that happens. Even when we're planning some of this stuff, it's like at the last minute things kind of anchor, and that's always really helped us out. Of course, whether it be finding a campsite, when everything else is full up, or meeting up with Peter Moon, which was not planned initially until we got to Montauk, and then having the experience of going around Camp Hero with him, asking him any question I wanted to, and then going back and being a part of his personal life, wherein he invited us to one of his friends' birthday parties, and we went and we had soda and pizza, and I talked to a lot of people at that party. Now, one of the things I'll mention very quickly is that the people in Montauk are very different, peculiar in a sense, but there's a certain affluence that's out there. Maybe that lends to some of the dispositions, but they're all very nice from what I've experienced. But there's this sort of separation with people when you're even talking to them. You can feel it. It's kind of as if there's a wall up, but it's one that's somewhat transparent. It's very difficult to describe. So, being at this party, I would, take turns kind of going back and forth and talking to, this person here, and then I move over to this one, and so forth, like you do normally as you socialize at any gathering. And while Peter Moon was kind of energetically working with Brian Minnick's wife, Danielle, who has, a host of things that she's working on within her body, and he was able to kind of help out with that in certain ways. Um, I was finding that everyone at the party, regardless of their immediate history, had some sort of connection to Montauk, or some sort of, I'm sorry, Camp Hero, or some sort of experience, whether they themselves were taken there as kids because the family was military, or somebody had vacationed over near that area and they remember the guards, or they knew somebody who had been abducted and then taken back and was going back and forth under some sort of program name that was usually for like the gifted kids or something like that. um, Everybody had an experience, and when I was talking to these people, it was like a bubble formed as I'm speaking to them, and this kind of affected my senses, wherein everything else around is sort of cut off. Oh, you knew it was still there. You could break that bubble very easily by turning around and focusing your attention on something else. But it was like you were dialing in energetically within the conversations, and yet for them, it was very natural. So a very interesting place, and certainly that first year down there was a pivotal year in
Your Wi-Fi
I don't know if you,
chopped out. Yeah,
I was going to say,
chopped
I don't
out.
know if you said something. It just kind of popped off for a second there. Sorry.
It was not for very long. Does it make you feel better?
No, I was done talking at that point too, so that was perfect.
Okay. All right. Good. Yeah. So yeah, that's some behind the scenes stuff that I really I was upset I missed that day. You know what I mean? I really was.
Hmm.
I didn't, of course, even still to this day, I don't really know a lot about a lot. That's just kind of always my role. I just kind of go places and I kind of feel it out, and I do the wood side thing. Like the tree lines, like is where and on this particular occasion, I got way more hands on, and I think we all did. On this
Yes.
last trip, it was way different than anything we've done before. Um,
Hmm.
right? Like we're used to roughing it, kind of just putting everything in the universe's hands. Like we're going to Montauk. We don't really have a lot of means between the three of us, but we're gonna pop up some tents and ride on our gas tank that we got and get there, and we're gonna make this stuff happen. And this year was way different. We were very, very blessed to be with a nice, huge, big group of people. And but that particular time, I had to leave, and you guys got to meet up with Peter Moon, which I thought was really, really cool. So even if you don't know a lot about Montauk, like, or let's just say you don't know a lot about, the Montauk project, Peter Moon, in essence, right, is he documented Preston Nichols' stuff for the most part, right?
Yeah, he wrote all the Montauk Project books with Preston Nichols. Yeah.
Yeah. So and there's a fine line there, right? Like, I mean, as far as I can tell, I've never really read it like in depth. Obviously, I've never read a book, period, like all the way through. So I'm the
Hmm.
worst person to talk to. But from what I could see is there's kind of like a fine line where it you can kind of interpret. It's hard to interpret if it's fact or fiction. You know what I mean?
Well, well, even in the beginning of the very first book that was released, in I think I don't remember if it was a forward or something like that, but at any rate, there was a blurb that Preston Nichols had put saying you can either believe this as reality or you can see it as fantasy. Either way is fine. Maybe that was to protect himself or the story that he was about to unravel. But he gave a lot of specific details, and yes, the guy was very smart, especially when it came to engineering. Very, very smart. Now, he also claimed to have Native American ties, which allowed him to kind of, exercise some sort of energy or knowledge when it came to mysticism as well, or clairvoyance. And, I don't doubt him because a lot of his equipment was really based on that type of thing. So, yeah, I mean, you can look at it as fact or fiction. I mean, those stories, but now that it's been, 30, 40, almost 40 years later. I mean, talk about when this thing actually began is later than that. Um, there are a lot of other people who have come forward with their version of what happened to them. Sometimes it reflects what Preston, Al, and Duncan had mentioned. Other times it's completely new. And the most intriguing accounts are when the two sort of mix and mesh, because
Mhm.
that at that point there's definitely something there. The hard part about any of this is that it's based on a lot of memory, and we understand what false memory is. We understand how that's created. And so when we're vetting some of these people and talking to them, uh, it's certainly very important to keep in mind that that is a possibility. And the more grounded people, including Arkim, will tell you
Mhm.
that sometimes, they look at a memory and they're like, well, I'm not sure if this is real or not. But they'll
Yeah.
talk about it and see if it fits somewhere.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There was such a good collective out there. And then Brian Sang, I believe his name is.
Brian saying, yeah. Good guy. Very good
Yeah,
guy.
great. I mean, yeah. And then
Good soul.
Jonathan, and then
Hmm.
all the girls, even some of them were from the Czech, and you have Angel's still around quite a bit.
Hmm.
Really, really, Stephanie,
James,
and
of
then
course.
yeah, like on our
It was
way
just a
out,
good group.
on our way out was pretty interesting too. We had to get you to the ferry.
Oh God, yes.
And I mean, we knew we had to be out that door at that moment. Like we were already overstaying our welcome. Like, all right, guys, we gotta go. Enough. Hugs and goodbyes. And like, it was sad to leave. Right? Nobody wanted to leave. It was kind of like the end of like a real world show. And
Yes, good point.
and it it was like all of a sudden you just started working on people, and then I started working on people. And when I say working on people, I mean Reiki for the most part, right?
That's exactly what it
We
was. Yes.
we both pretty much, I'm sure, put our own spin on things, but it was Reiki in essence, and you could tell it from there if you want, but the outcome, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very interesting morning. We got up getting, ready to go. And, when it's time to do that, we're all pretty efficient about it. I had a ferry to catch. And of course, with the traffic and where we were locationally, it was, what was it, 2.5 hours or something crazy like that to get out there.
It shouldn't be that. Yeah, it is long because of the timing and timing of year, and you're at one fork and you have to come in and then go back out to the other fork, and yeah,
Yes.
it's time consuming. Yeah,
Kind of like you have to backtrack. But, we had
it's
kind of,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah. No, it's all one lane out, and like so, you have you have no choice. You're behind people, and like I mean, as you know, I made some moves that weren't really legitimate, but
But look, it was necessary. So this morning started off, as I mentioned, packing up and getting ready, and and went upstairs, and I forget who I started working on first energetically, but as soon as that happened, and obviously Mike was doing this too, people started lining up. Oh, can I have a session? Can I have a session? Sure, sure, sure. So, when it comes to that type of thing, a lot of people who are more what's the word I'm looking for? Well, the people that have business with this type of energy work, they're like, okay, we'll give you a half hour. We're going to give you an hour. Well, I don't do that. I go based on what that person takes in. So when I put my hands over somebody, I can feel the energy being sucked out, so to speak. As soon as that sort of kind of like dams up and pools where I can feel that it's sort of coming back towards me, I know that area of the body or the person has taken as much of that healing energy as they needed at that point in time, and the session is then over. For some people, it's 5 minutes. For some people, it's an hour. For some people, it could be longer than that or anything in between. It's really based on what the individual is needing at that time. So as we're going through all this, I'm watching the clock and I'm like, okay, well, I can't deny anybody a session. So again, we talk about the synchronicity. We ended up leaving with less time than we needed to get out to where I was going. And it wasn't like I had an option that I could, stay an extra night and, catch the ferry the next day. I think
no,
maybe if I was lucky, I would have waited 4 hours or something like that for another ferry to come later on. If I was lucky, I'd be able to book that. But long story short, we drove back out, and Mike got me there with 1 minute to
1 minute. Yeah.
put the ticket in queue and get my ass on the boat. Like they were
1 minute.
lifting up, the hatches and pulling the chains as I'm running towards the boat with my bag. They're like, yep, come on.
Yep.
So I got there. As soon as I stepped on the boat, we were off.
Yeah,
That was it.
it was moving. Yeah, I watched to make sure you actually got on, and I seen you come up the steps and get on. By the time you were on that second shelf to go inside, it was going. It was
Boom.
And I ended up hiking like at the end of the Orient Point after that, and it was like I was so like adrenaline was like crazy. I did not want to like. I was like, all right, let me reset. So I did. I hiked, and what this trail did was it was pretty close to Plum Island, which was interesting, interesting enough. But it went and it went through and went to the other side, and like, and I'm like talking, as I'm filming, as I always do or whatever. And as I'm talking, I'm like, yeah, I'm like talking about how I just dropped you off, and like all of a sudden, ferry it comes around the bend. I'm like, there he is.
Timing, man.
But those people that we worked on, I won't give their names because it's personal, right? But they were all crying,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not, no lie, they were all crying.
Save for
And
maybe one person, I think everyone that I had worked with had gotten emotional. Again, save
yeah,
for one person. You know what I mean?
I, yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember for sure, but yeah, I know what you mean. And yeah, so but they were like bawling, crying, and like it wasn't, and you might think like, oh, that's not so great, right? Like, why would you want to cry? But it's this release and like
Mm.
getting you out of your own, getting that negative energy and everything out of you, getting yourself out of your own way. We're helping you just move your energy around, and there was such a healing there, and it was just putting like that little cherry on top of the cake from the whole thing, from the whole week.
Very much agree with that.
Yeah, and you were on fire because I was working on somebody, and I saw you finish with somebody, and I just like sidestepped because like your your energy was just like boom, boom, like I can't
Really?
even explain it, but I was just like, yeah, you got this, like go ahead. It was like Gandalf walked in the room, and I was like an elf. I'm like, you got this, like, or like a like a
Uh,
whatever.
You,
I don't
it's
know.
funny too because if you don't use it, you lose it, right? That's generally the principle that we follow when we talk about certain hobbies or working out or something along these lines, whatever it may be, even a language. With Reiki or energy healing, I've never found that. And what those sessions did that whole week, because we did some work here and there on people throughout that time. It wasn't just the last day. I remembered, and I'm gonna say it this way, okay? How good I am at it, right? And it's not me per se; it's the fact that I have a natural inclination to be able to open up to that energy, and it just flows through me. In fact, getting into all of this, spirituality and esotericism back when I was 12, the first reading that I had, clairvoyant reading, the woman had told me a lot of things, okay, but there was one thing she was very adamant about. She's like, I need you to meet this guy. I think his name was Herman. She says, he's a part of the healing group that we have. We meet once a week, but he's going to teach you how to work with hands-on healing, and that's what we used to call it back then. It wasn't a modality. It wasn't Reiki. It wasn't some subset of Reiki. It was energy healing and hands-on healing. That's what we called it. So she said the reason
Sure.
that you need to meet him is because you're a natural healer. So for me, that description, I didn't really know what it meant, but intuitively I felt like it was something I was really going to be involved in. And of course, after I met him at the latter part of my 12th year, I think to maybe 15 or 16, 17, I was, yeah, actually, probably until I was up to about 17, 18, I was still going to this group, and we were, still working with energy.
Yeah.
And it's really, I give the guy the utmost credit. He took me under his wing and very gently, kind of showed me how to open that and close the session and, kind of control it. And next thing you knew, I was just able to do it. So, I mean, some of us, Mike, I think have that. And, I mean, you, from your energy, the way that I've read it and interacted with it, I think you're also a natural healer. Honest to God. I mean, the way you open up and the way that you approach Sasquatch with that type of energy, I've seen the reflection come back to you. So, I mean, some of us are out there, getting caught up in life, having these, I don't want to call them gifts, but abilities or the awareness to do this type of work, which is very beneficial for others as well as yourself. We
Yeah.
forget that we have that capability. So
Sure. I'm bad. I always feel like one of those like people who are like hyping themselves up and whatever, right? So like I always like kind of downplay myself a little bit, but the things I'm capable of and the things I've surprised myself with, whether it's something I've learned along the way or like maybe it's always been there or whatever. I mean, there's some things that I've been doing that like, I mean, I'm blowing myself away. Like I'm
Mhm.
psyching myself out. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
I know I'm being very vague there, but there's a reason. I don't like to be the uh I like to be show and tell, not tell and don't show. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So I'll be vague until I don't have to be vague. But there's some things that need mastering. But yeah, like I do think it comes naturally to me. I just had to tap into it. Yeah.
That's right.
And with a lot of people, and we can kind of sense it in other people too. You know what I mean? Like there's people out there that I'll come across and I'll be like, oh, like yeah, like like Brian, right? Like our friend Brian Minnick from Montauk is Strange. Very, very special guy. Very, very special guy on a lot of different levels.
Oh yes.
I mean, on a lot of different levels. And just kind of needs that little push, that little nudge, that little reinforcement. And next thing you know, he's off to the races, right? And but somebody asked where he is. We were gonna do this at 11 tonight, so it changed. His DHP's schedule changed, so we came and did it earlier. It's actually Brian's birthday tomorrow, so we did want to do it at 11, and then so like at like midnight we could be like, oh, happy birthday. But if you guys want, just go subscribe to him, and then
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's all right. Doesn't matter.
Oh God damn it! I was just on the phone with him before I was talking to the other person I had mentioned there. Yeah, obviously he wanted to be at the show, and he mentioned 11. I said we were going to go at 6 instead. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I won't be able to be there." But I didn't know it was his birthday tomorrow. So guys, we're gonna have to make sure we wish Brian Minnick a very happy birthday.
Yeah, please do. I just want to say something real quick, Sapphire Elf. I do apologize. This has been happening a lot. I can't see you, and so I'm not like ignoring any of your comments. I don't see them popping up. After this is done, I'll figure out what's going on with that, and I will get it adjusted. I do apologize, and I just wanted to address that real fast. Thank you all for being here. By the way, I know there's a million places you can be. You can be anywhere in the world at the click of your finger. Like literally, you could be anywhere in the entire world. So when you spend time here with us, we don't take it for granted. It's very appreciated, very, very much appreciated. Every last one of you. And if you go over to Darkhour Paranormal, it will be the same way. Promise you, he will appreciate your time. He'll appreciate your subscription and you being in the chat or leaving a comment, whatever the case may be. So
absolutely.
Cashew, good to see you.
Hey, Cashew Gesundheit. What's up,
I've also been studying the moon phases and the tags. Come up some theories I have when they hunt and why. Oh, okay, all right, I got you. Awesome, loving this. Great, good stuff. I can't help falling asleep. Oh God, all right. Mike Jones shooting his shot right here in chat. You saw it. So I think all of us shine and connect through kindness. Well, some do, yeah, some do. Some stick in darkness, right? But we don't do that over here.
I embrace the darkness. That becomes a part of you, and guess what? It's a lot more manageable at that point.
Hey, Andy, good to see you, buddy. Oomba. Midwest Night Watchers, also an amazing show. I will be back for sure. Well, thank you for being here. Heiser Soze. Pleasure, brother. Good to see you. Choo. I just subbed. Good stuff, Jane. Jane is a really beautiful person, local. People who aren't kind in heart, they don't stick around. No, not here. They don't. Darkness doesn't survive in this light, buddy. You know that. Not over here. I could get dark all by myself. I handle it.
That's
right. I handle it before anybody sees it. Lulu, good to see you. Montauk is strange again. A lot of big things are coming. So when can we expect the next documentary? Because I don't want to put a time pressure on you. You know what I mean? But just in general, do you think it'll be out before this? Before the year's out?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah? Oh wow. Okay. Cool. That's exciting.
One of the bigger challenges I've had with this is that you want to take whatever themes or motifs that are being acted on and spoken about through the different people, have supporting evidence or some sort of aesthetic that goes along with that, and create a braid that then becomes an entire rope, right, or some sort of thicker string of all of those concepts that go throughout the longest documentary that I've ever put together. And this thing is clocking in at 1 hour and 45 minutes. I really don't want it to be any longer than that. I don't think it needs to be. But that being said, I will have a whole lot of extra footage that people had mentioned certain things that didn't necessarily fit within the context that things are being described. I'll be releasing that in a different way too, and it's just as fascinating as what you're going to find in the documentary. But the documentary is much more comprehensive in its own nature and right. So I wanted to say 11/11 would be it. I mean, that's in a handful of days, and I have a Paracon that I'm speaking at in Salem, Massachusetts. I'm sorry, I'm not speaking.
Oh,
I'm hosting it. I thought I was
right.
speaking on it. Apparently, I'm hosting it.
Well,
Excuse me, 2 days there. So, go ahead.
wait, you're a host? Okay, so what day is that on?
So this is on Saturday the 11th and Sunday the 12th.
Wow.
Yep, out in Salem. I mean, that's the mecca of paranormal, witchy stuff. I mean, out here in the Northeast, at least, that's where everyone flocks to just, discover that folklore.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah. It's going to be a good turnout. It's not the first year that they've done this. There's a horror con element to it. So we're going to have actors from, I think it's the second Friday the 13th movie. Off the top of my head, I'd have to look at the roster to see who it is. But, we have a handful of very interesting speakers coming. The amazing Kreskin, who is a world-renowned mentalist, is going to be doing a special show on Saturday night at 7:30. I think whatever that costs, it's a nominal fee to see somebody like that. And if you were to be tossed between Uri Geller and the amazing Kreskin, one of the defining differences here outside of bending spoons is that Uri Geller always purported that what he was doing to bend spoons and play mental tricks and so forth, that was all based on psychic activity, right? Which we know through the amazing Randy that's bullshit. But the amazing Kreskin has always been just a fantastic mentalist, like Darren Brown, and some of you might know who he is, to just go out and do the magic. And we wanted to have him at this Paracon, I think, because of who he is and because of the nature of his work. It'll be a very entertaining time. But I'm just mentioning a couple names here that we'll be getting into and getting to know.
Yeah, well, that's amazing, bro. That's really cool. I had no idea. Michelle, I just talked about that. I literally just said something. I just addressed it. I got to show you these sightings I just caught. Oh, up in you talking about UFOs? I love it, man. Like I somebody just gifted me a 360 camera. I'm not really sure how to use it. I'm not good with technology. You know me, bro. But I'm super stoked. Like the possibilities are endless with that thing. You know what I mean? They really are. I love a lamp. That's from what's it called? What's that movie with Ron Burgundy? Like I when he reads everything on the teleprompter, it's called like yeah. I don't know. It's not important. It's not important. It's one of the characters. Steve Carell, he plays this character where he just. Anyway, if you haven't seen it, it's not important. It's not important. So you're doing that. I wish I could make it there. I really do. I have some plans of my own that are pretty set in stone. Anchorman, thank you. That are pretty set in stone.
I remember the movie. I don't think I ever saw it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I wish I could be there. I would, if I didn't have plans, I would definitely drive up there. But
it's cool. I mean, I'm going to try to capture some of this on video. Obviously, I won't be able to get every speaker. They're going an hour each, and it's going to be a very long, drawn out event. But obviously in the best of ways. But yeah, I'll definitely be able to take some footage, and I'll make an episode just sort of highlighting what we're doing tomorrow night. Wait, what's the hell is today? What's today? Wednesday? Yeah, tomorrow night. I have Charles Rosenet and another fella, Thomas Gromley, I think his name is. Um, Something about Archangel Paranormals. I'm not sure if that's his team or whatever it is, but regardless, these are the guys that are putting on this Paracon. So we're going to talk a little bit about what to expect, and of course go into detail with some of the guests as we get into that show tomorrow night. But yeah, that's it's going to be interesting, man. And don't worry, we'll have some of that footage so you guys can see, and of course within that can feel like you were hopefully there.
Well, that'd be great. Yeah. Hopefully it would be nice if somebody could film it for you too.
I
You know
have
what
an
I mean?
assistant coming with me. I do.
Oh, great. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, great. So I'm trying to work on these. I'm trying to find this block section if I can and see if I can fix it through here real quick. So,
Mhm.
um, do, shite. Uh, yeah, I'm not so good at this stuff.
Yeah, I remember the first time that my good friend Rich Giordano of GoofOn decided to come and watch my show. This was like maybe the fourth show I ever had done, and of course, um, I had known Rich, just a little bit. I talked to him, on shows. We were on, I think, 2 shows together prior to him actually coming in. Again, newbie at getting this stuff going with YouTube. Not too sure what I was doing, but I was still pushing forward. And at the time, I had another guy who was, kind of working with me on the channel to kind of get me up and running. And I see this guy come into the chat that wasn't Rich, and this dude, started running his mouth, and I let it go for a minute, and finally, I was like, all right, you know what, this guy's being really disrespectful, rude. I have to block him. That's it. So I went to click on him, and as soon as I clicked, the mouse clicked the next one, the chat jumped, and sure enough, it was Rich making a comment, and I blocked him. Now, the problem was I had no idea how to unblock him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was starting to kind of freak out a little bit on the show, and I'm like, I told this other guy, I was like, dude, you figure this out. He's like, well, just make me a moderator. I'm like, how the hell do I do that? All live. My guest is sitting right there going, what's going on? Hold on a second. Hold on. We got to bring Richie back, right? So,
Yeah.
long story short, I I had this other guy unblock him, but it was already far too late. Rich was already upset and in arms about it, and so I ended up having to call him after the show. And before I actually got on the phone with him, we shot text messages back and forth. I get on the phone with him, and he was irate. He's like, "Why'd you block me?" I'm like, "I didn't mean to." I said, "The chat jumped." He's like, "Yeah, bullshit. The chat jumped." I'm like, "Why would I block you?" Right. And this is, in the beginning of our friendship. We're going back and forth. I think I talked to him for about 45 minutes to an hour, trying to just convince him that I didn't mean to block him. And, lo and behold, eventually, we conceded that, yeah, obviously it was a mistake. And yeah, he was mad about it for like another 2 weeks. And like every once in a while, I'd be watching his show, and he'd give me a little stab. You know what I mean? I'm like, God damn it! Did you forget the conversation we had? To this day, we still laugh about it. Say, oh, the chat jumped. The chat jumped.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Gotta be careful.
Like even Anthony, he was a mod, and when the show started, he was like, dude, I'm blocked. Like nobody can even see me. And I'm like, how does that happen? How does you know what I'm saying? Like, how does that happen? But you just got to combat it. You just got to combat it. Like, if you just hope people are understanding and just work through it. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is.
That's exactly all it is. Yeah.
Yeah, people make mistakes. Like, shit gets screwed up. Sometimes it's us. Sometimes it's shit. Sometimes it's whatever, Google mods or whatever you want to call it. But
yes,
whether my mods block somebody, or whether Google does it, or whether I have no idea how it happened, I always take the hit. I always say, I take the hit, because that's the responsible thing to do, in my opinion.
Right. Well, I mean, you got to source it back too. I mean,
exactly. But like, let's just say somebody's being a savage in the chat, right? And then one of your mods blocks them, and then you say, "Oh, thanks, so and so, my moderator, for doing that." Now, that person knows that they were the one that did it, and if they really want to be like a real angry troll, like, and chase them around, it becomes a problem for them. So I always make sure I take it on the chin, no matter what the case may be.
I meant more in the way of, some kind of Google moderator or something like that. There are things beyond our control when it comes to YouTube. And, it seems weird. Like, for example, earlier this week, if you signed into YouTube and looked at any of our channels, within the circle, let's just say, okay, every single one of these channels had like 40,000 likes. 40,000 thumbs up. I mean, there's 345 views on the video. There's 40,000 likes. And Rick and I were looking at this going, what's going on here? And, that's just one of these things that YouTube did. I mean, it's a glitch. So if you thought you had 40,000 likes and then you check a couple hours later and you're back to like the 5 that you started with, it's just YouTube,
Yeah.
It's all good. We still work with it. We work through it all.
I don't make excuses. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't make excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Shit happens. We choose to shoot each other with BB guns. We used to shoot each other with BB guns or fight like hell and have to go home.
I remember shooting each other with BB guns when we were younger. See how many pumps, with the air rifle, airsofts you could take. You start with one, you go up to until the thing would get embedded in the back of your leg. You know what I mean? He's almost point blank. Good Lord, shit we did with kids.
They used to freeze the paintballs. And
I remember that too.
Yeah, and then we had a kid that used to go in school, and he had a big super soaker. Like, I mean, this was like, it wasn't one that was like, like, and it just shot a little bit. Like, it had power, right? And he used to put hot sauce in it.
Oh, the son of a gun!
Yeah, and shoot people in the eyes. You know what I mean?
Oh my God!
You know what I mean?
So, kid behind the scenes real quick. Take a nap for a few minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. It took the pressure off the kid and made work fun. Chat is moving quick today. So anyway, let me get back on topic with you here now that we fixed all those problems. Let me ask you a question. Like, let me ask you your opinion on Junior. Now, do you think, well, what do you, like, just in general, about Junior? Junior is considered the monster that was created, right? At least in the stories, he was the monster that was created to destroy the Montauk Project, basically, right?
That's right.
Am I getting it right? Because I don't really know the story. I just know what, like, kind of. So what I kind of started to get hits from was, like, I'm not really a monster. I put an end to the monsters, which was the humans that were doing that stuff. You know what I mean? Now, but was that why? Because I almost feel like Preston maybe was kind of taking credit for something that was just done, if that makes sense to you. Now, I'm just curious what your input is to it.
Well, Junior is an interesting aspect of the story. I mean, if everything else that's encompassed and embodied within those accounts wasn't fantastic enough, oh, well, here we go. We get this interdimensional black shadow being that looks like a Sasquatch. It's, between 9 and I think 2 feet high, whatever, depending on the eyewitness account. And this thing is born out of the psyche of Duncan Cameron to destroy the Camp Hero and obviously the Montauk Project and that effort as well. So initially, as the story goes, Duncan was programmed to be able to pull this thing out of the deepest part of his subconscious, like the nastiest, most negative thing that he could possibly come up with. It's his creation. If there's no Duncan Cameron, there's no Junior. So, I'll get to that in a moment here. So, what ends up happening is they essentially wanted to have this thing appear, manifest right on the lowest levels of the base
Oh,
because they would
okay.
break it from within, and that that way they could keep it still in its clandestine state, but it ruin and sabotage the whole project. Well, as it went, apparently, sometimes having an empirical edge to their experimentation, this thing appeared above ground, some feet away from where they had actually projected anything to occur, and they went around smashing stuff like they had planned, but it was there and it stayed there. So everybody flees, and apparently Junior's there, and eventually it sort of blips out of this reality. But with a camera or something like that, you can actually see whatever spectrums of light this is going to catch. You can still see the thing there. Now,
Yeah.
one of the things that I always found really intriguing was the nonchalant attitude that Preston Nichols would talk about this creation. He's up on top of the radar tower during those famous tapes that he had, filmed with Al Balick, Helga Morrow, and Duncan, and he's just panning across. He's like, "Yep, so we've got this over here, and oh, look, you see that shadow there? There's Junior. Junior's still here. Anyway, so we're looking over on the bluffs, and I mean, he just so candidly just kind of wash over it as if it's an absolute fact. But yes, you could see,
Well,
in certain circumstances that there was a black shadow, and it was kind of frozen in time, like it wouldn't move. So I don't know what energy it was actually pulling from outside of the energy it was feeding off of from the project itself, which is as the story goes, they say Junior sort of disappeared once Preston was able to sever. Was it no? Maybe it was Al and Duncan that went back to the USS Eldridge. So I mean, there was this whole time loop that was created, and the energy was coming from that sort of drive. It wasn't powered from what they were doing physically here. So they eventually severed that cord, and that's when everything eventually shut down, or finally shut down, and Junior went along with it. So I don't know. I mean, today I've stood in the same spot that Junior allegedly was. I mean, we see those famous photographs. I forget the photographer's name, but he was up in a helicopter doing some sort of routine surveying, whether it was, it had to be military or, something within that faction, because you're not just taking pictures of, the base back in 1983 without anybody knowing, what you're doing there.
yeah.
So, yeah, we see these pictures, and it's one thing to just have one, but we have several. And we
Yeah.
can pinpoint the exact location, the exact battery that he's standing over. And again, I've been there with, Brian specifically standing at that spot, and it feels really charged. It feels really weird to stand in that spot. Not necessarily in any weird bad way, but you notice that there's a difference in the air. It's thicker, it's a little heavier. Breathing kind of feels like you're underwater a little bit, like sort of a pressure on the top of your lungs here. And you can step out of that area and everything kind of releases and just softens. So I do think that Junior, maybe as the way he was described, is or was there. But to me, that's one of the most anomalous things about the project overall, and it's the way that Junior was very ancillary in finally ending such a large effort from the Air Force. I mean, it's kind of, as I said, it's just fantastic. It's a
Yeah,
wild story.
it is. And I personally know that, he's, at least there is a Sasquatch there that goes by the name Junior, I know it personally. Like, to each their own. I don't care if you want to hear it or not, but I'll tell you, I had direct contact with it, and he doesn't seem bad to me at all. He seems like he had a mission. Um, he even gifted us, very blatantly. Like, you guys. He guided me away from you guys, and I was like, I didn't know where I was going necessarily, but I could even hear Danielle at one point, like, "Where's Mike?" And I'm like, and I had to ignore it because I had to, like, kind of follow this, like, magnetic
Mm-hmm.
journey I was on. And you saw it with your own eyes, like, where this place, is Camp Hero, has been scoured millions of times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And is if even by the government, right? Because there was UXOs there, which are unexploded ordnance, um, all sorts of stuff, off trails, and
Just think about that for a moment too. You know what I mean? What other
yeah,
public park Maybe
Right.
somebody in your audience can pinpoint this. What other public park is open for families and kids to run around and walk about, but they have a stipulation that you need to stay on the trails because you might step on a freaking landmine,
A landmine, or some kind
unexploded
of
ordnance, like you said. Yeah.
unexploded ordnance. Yeah. So that's insanity. At its at is an understatement. But so at this point, there's this area of brush that looks destroyed. I mean, it looks like something came through and just ripped trees out from the ground, and they're not big trees, they're about 6, 7 foot trees, but it looks like something came through and just started, ripping them out. And there's this clearing, and I go right to it. And what's sitting there just like in the dirt, poking its head out, is this reel to reel, which is, if you've ever been to the movie theaters, right, where they put them, that's what you watch on this big screen, that right, it's a reel to reel, but it's reel by reel or whatever, and it's old, it's old, it's in the dirt, and it's old as dirt. And to find something like that is like not by chance, you know what I mean?
Nope.
Oh, you
had no business
lose
being
you?
there whatsoever.
No,
No,
it
can you hear
didn't.
me?
It didn't happen by chance. You're right. Yeah. So that sent us on a journey in itself, where I gave it to whatever. We took it as a team, but Brian ended up taking it, and it took forever for him to find somebody to be able to get that off of there. And about a year and a half later, about a year and a half, he ended up in Brooklyn. He drove all the way to Brooklyn with some students, and they were able to pull what was on there off of it. And if you want to hear what it is, check out Montauk Strange's channel. You can hear it, and I know he gave you some pieces of it too, like some of the to keep. And I'll tell you, he only plays a little bit of it, and it is hard to hear. Like, it's hard to listen to. At least in my opinion.
Check this out. So the reel to reel that we recovered is a 1/4-inch studio reel. Okay. They'll still use 1/2-inch today in studios. In fact, it's an analog sound that's very sought after, and many of the bigger artists will still record at least drums and bass on an analog machine like a 1/2-inch tape. This 1/4-inch, I mean, I have a machine somewhere that would certainly take care of that. It would be able to fit on it. But I got this from studios that I used to work in years ago. It's not as popular. Apex was the company that was producing this. They stopped for a while, and then people kind of made an outcry, and it took, I don't know, a handful of years. I think back in like 2006, 7, 8, something like that, they started manufacturing them again. This particular reel, it has obviously the magnetic tape. It degrades with exposure and weathering, and really all this tape had on it was the soil from whence it was stuck into the earth. So being about, I don't know, maybe 2 inches down, maybe 3, if I could think back to what it was, you can see that us actually recovering the tape in the Montauk Enigma on the channel, my channel. So if you go and look at it, it's in there, and we do cover it again in the second documentary that I'm coming up with here. We go in more depth with that. But the fact of the matter is, unless some traveler happened to drop that within, oh God, I would say safely within like the last 5 or 6 months. I mean, look, this is right by the seaside. You have a high salt content in the air, and anything that washes up spray wise, I mean, that ocean has a lot of salinity. So with that compounding with the rains and the hurricanes that come through those areas seasonally, again, this thing shouldn't be there. And definitely not in the condition that it is. I don't care if it was under some brush or not. It's not enough to protect it. So we took it back. Obviously, Mike mentioned that Brian took it down to Brooklyn. And what you're going to hear when it plays back it's 2 tracks, and there's a little echo on this too. So, I mean, it's an analog echo. Certainly something that can be rectified if we were to actually go down that route, but you still get the sense of what's on the tape, and it's this old-timey music. We're talking about maybe the 30s, the 40s, I'd say at latest. this stuff was being produced, whatever this music was. Now, again, the significance here is that we know that, not just based on the whitewash stories of, our three favorite whistleblowers, but other people that were involved or claimed to be involved as victims or otherwise within the Montauk Project, that we were using music to program and reprogram people, right?
Sure.
So, I mean,
back then, even when they used to say, now your regular scheduled programming. You know what I mean? Sit down in front of the TV for your regular scheduled programming. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a funny coincidence, the verbiage on that. I mean, I'll put it that way, but who knows? Maybe there's something more intentional behind it, but I don't think they had any reason to, kind of make people aware of it. Maybe it was just some sort of joke, inside joke. They're like, oh, we're going to call it programming and, whatever. I don't know.
They're probably like, they won't even notice. We'll call it that and they'll still do it. But no, but seriously, you're right though. Like when you hear that music, and then they were using it. You're right, and it sounds almost torturous. Whether it's for programming or whatever, it's hard to hear. Like it's hard to listen to. It's like cringing. I do suggest you guys go watch the Montauk Enigma, so you know what we're talking about. Go check out his channel and if you just type in the Montauk Enigma, you'll find that. And it will lead you into this next, documentary that's coming out too. But you'll actually see that footage of when somebody's filming and they walk up on me and I'm like, pointing at the damn thing and you see their reactions and you hear all their reactions to that reel to reel and it's priceless. It's priceless, especially Danielle, like, no way,
she was funny. Funny.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I think Brian has to work tonight, and unfortunately, but it's his birthday tomorrow, and we'll, maybe I'll go link up with him at some point.
Buy him a beer for me, will you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't drink, but I'll buy him one. Well, I'll have one here and there for an occasion, but
right.
Yeah, I don't really. Good kid, really great guy. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but he's working on some stuff too, and these gentlemen, we're talking about right now, guys, are we all work on many different things. You might only see us on YouTube and we post videos and we do interviews or sit downs with people and stuff, but there's a lot of different moving parts that happen. And you were in Belize. People might not know that, but you were in Belize, right. And you're probably going to go back to Belize, right?
That's right.
And I mean, that is dazzled with pyramids and all sorts of stuff, but the stuff you guys were doing was the stuff that people haven't seen yet, right? Kind of bushwhacking right into new history.
That's exactly what we were doing. We were looking for new ruins that no one had ever discovered, but we had a feeling we're on the property, and guess what? We found them.
Yeah. It was Jim Goodall was there, no doubt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jim Goodall, Jared Murphy. Yep.
Yeah, the cousins. Well, I always fucked that up. Are they cousins? No, they're brothers, but their names are cousins.
Yes, the Cousins brothers.
Okay. Gotcha.
And when I first met him, I didn't know what to make of it either. I was like, wait, what's the name? What's the relation? Okay.
I didn't want to screw it up, but yeah.
But that's...
Yeah. Huh? Who else was there? Well, Jared got... It was interesting to me because a lot of you guys really got banged up in different ways from that trip.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to wonder if there's anything to it, between spider bites and flesh wounds and heart issues and all sorts of things. You got to wonder, and you can't let it take over you, right? Because you gotta. But it's interesting.
It is interesting, and it was certainly something I thought of while we were out on the trip, outside of Jim falling and busting his ass and getting, I think it was 11 stitches at one point, and then continuing to fall throughout the, duration of being out there, not because, he's a man of advanced years, but because, something was slippery or just misstepped and, that was what it was. Outside of that, coming back, uh, Jared suffered a massive heart attack and cardiac arrest. Yeah, both at the same time. There's a 1% chance that somebody who underwent what he did will survive. And actually, because it's such a miracle case, there are television stations up there right now, as we're talking, editing the documentary that they've shot for him and the medical staff that saved him. There's this whole big story that they're going into because he's literally a miracle case. When I came back, my partner of a year, she just literally just broke up with me within the first 3 days of coming back. Never saw that coming, was blindsided. The transmission in my car fell out going to work, within that week. And then there were a host of other things that sort of just kind of unfolded. And it really made me apprehensive to go back, because I was making this correlation of, when I left, everything was fine. Everything was exciting. We were going to do this. This was great. And I came back and everything was just up in the air and just completely overturned. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. And yes, things have gotten better since then. No, she never came back. I could care less about that. But, all humor aside, the guys, when I mention the guys, it's Jared, Jim, and our friend Tom Elmore, who's basically responsible for the LiDAR scanning and the drone work that we're doing there at one of the sites. They're three of them. They're going this week to back to Belize for about 5 days, I think, and they're going to meet with some of the most important people that we need to meet in respect to making this in respect to making this move forward within the endeavors that we have. Now, I can't talk too much about what those details might actually be, but what I can tell you is that you will have a chance to come and visit and possibly work on the site with us if you so choose to in the very near future. Let me put it that way.
That's amazing. So Angel wants to know if we played it backwards too. I can't recall if they did or not. I mean, it was very touchy. You have to understand how touchy this stuff is. Like, it was barely.
Yeah.
It was barely. We were barely able to like salvage it. Like, it was old, and it had to be cleaned and like. I don't remember if they played it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember if they played it backwards, but I'm not sure. You'd have to watch. Yeah, you'd have to watch. Oh, he did?
No, just go. I'm telling anybody out there, if you want to hear it, just download Brian's episode on his channel, and then import that into a video editing program and play the damn thing backwards. And yeah, you could definitely do that yourself. Like I said, that analog delay makes it tough, though.
Well, I love watching the Montauk Enigma too because like that's in there. There's so much in there that I keep forgetting about. But that was your introduction, like at least in the physical to Montauk, and like I got to sit next to you as we drove towards it.
Oh my God, that was so fun.
As we drove towards Camp Hero, I got to, I was driving, but I got to look out of my peripheral at you, and you kept kind of looking at me like, like, are you, is he feeling this too? And like,
the energy, yes.
Oh, it's like when they say you can cut it with a knife, like it's that thick, at least it was that day, it was that day at least. I've been out there where it's been, it's been just a regular like breezy day or whatever, but that day was like, the best way I can describe it is it was like dense. It was like almost like moving like through a bowl of Jello or something. Like it was pretty crazy. But it was fun. It was fun to watch. Watch your experience. I don't know if he froze on us again. You could do it, Val. Yeah, thank you, Judy. So actually, it's interesting enough. that's what I say in that part of the video too. He's like, well, what do you feel when we're rolling into Montauk? I said, it feels to me like a magnetic, like I said, it feels like a magnet is
There we go.
pulling me. Yeah, you're back. And that's actually what he says to me. He's like, how do you feel? And I said, I feel like there's like a magnet almost like in my chest, and it's like pulling me towards it. And it's crazy, but
100%.
yeah.
What I want to show you very quickly, this,
Shoot.
let's see if I can get a good shot on it. Where the hell's the camera? All right, here we go. This is a shell from essentially a Mayan dump, right? Mayan dumping ground. So what they would do is they would, gather these little snails. Obviously, this is a conch of sort, and they would boil them in clay pots that they would make. Now, this particular piece is about 1,200 years old. Okay. In fact, if you are to, take this at a closer look, you'll see that it's starting to petrify, believe it or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's certainly indicative. And the Bushman that we were with, he's an absolute. I don't even know how to put it. He's the last of the good Bushmen. Let's put it that way. He knows everything about those jungles, and he asserted that this was about 1,100 to 1,200 years old. They would take these clay pots, put these things in there, boil them, and when the little mollusks here were cooked, or the bivalves were cooked, the pots would break from the heat. And what would happen would be twofold. Number one, they'd know that their dinner was ready to eat, so they would then do that and then throw it into a pile. And the other thing was that the pots were made to break this way so that you could collect the sea salt. To the boiling process. So seasoning, and
I hope he comes back. It's chopping up. It chopped up a little bit.
come on.
Some beach. Yeah.
Let's try something here.
Well, while he'll get it together in a second. Yeah, I know you guys are a couple seconds behind us. He'll get it together. I want to at least get him back to kind of wrap up, and then I believe Midwest Night Watchers is on tonight. So if you guys get a chance, go check that out. Tomorrow night, just so you guys know, tomorrow I have a 3-hour. You guys have been asking me for a long video. Oh, you get upset when they end. You want them to go longer. You always want them to go longer. All right, hang on. I'm gonna do this. Remove from stage. Put him back in here. Boom, bang, bing. There it is.
So stupid. I'm so sorry, man.
No. Don't worry about it. So, what I was saying is, everybody always wants a longer video. When I do the premieres, everyone's like, "Oh, I wish there was more." I made this one 3 hours and 20 minutes. It's multiple locations. I mean, just uncut footage, back to back to back to back to back to back to back. Literally, as my day went on, everything I shot, except for like certain footage that I already used for other stuff, or I'm going to use for shorts, or the "Cómo está? How you doing?" Or the last place I'm going to do, I sent to Brian, and he's going to help me do a mini doc with the last location, and we're going to dive back into Native history and stuff, and do a follow, a second mini doc with that. So anyway, good to have you back.
Yeah. We'll be back in
So
2 and 2. Chuck
yeah,
Woolery.
so we'll wrap up in about 5 to 10, guys. Do you have any questions for this guy? So where can they find you? Dark Hour Paranormal on YouTube.
Dark Hour
I know you
Paranormal.
have
Yep.
Dark Hour Paranormal Live on Facebook, which is, I don't know if you do much on there or not.
I basically use it for promotion. The group is basically what it is. Occasionally, I'll come across an article I think is really interesting, and I'll post it in there. Something on time travel or quantum physics or aging,
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. But yeah, definitely Dark Hour Space Paranormal. You can find everything I've done there: interviews, mini documentaries, full length documentaries. For now, that's the portal that I'm working with as we go on. Especially when it comes to what we're doing in Belize, we're going to be reaching out to much larger production companies to work with us in that respect. But that's in line with the ArcheoX, the company that Jared, Jim, and myself have founded to do these efforts in Belize. You can also
Right.
find me occasionally over on Third Phase of Moon. I've worked with those guys extensively for now almost 3 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
The channel is almost that old too. Actually, we're going to go on 4 going next year. It's 4 years. Obviously, you can see me over on Goof On, which is Rich Giordano's channel. I'm a frequent guest there, as he deems. He's one of those guys that does, I think very well solo in his monologues and his what he's covering narrative wise with ufology and other things. So,
He's got multiple personalities. He bangs off he bangs off his other personality. Oh wait.
I'll never forget those freaking chickens that he has. You remember the chickens?
No, not
Like,
no.
so we had a good friend that she was from Australia. May she rest in peace, Misty OC Dragons, who was a big supporter of all of
Huge.
our shows,
Big
and
time.
she suggested to Rich that he get some rubber chickens. And sure enough, he thought it was a great idea. Next thing you know, you got rubber chicken. It's in the most
I
perfect
thought you meant real
time.
chicken.
No.
Yeah, now I know what you mean. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, we have a lot of fun over at Goof On. I work for Dr. J Radio Live, who is the late Art Bell's producer, along with Heather Wade. For those of you who remember Midnight in the Desert, and of course Coast to Coast AM prior to that, I work with him on his channel, to kind of keep things going with him. And then there are, several other channels that I'm obviously going to forget at the moment here, and I apologize for those of you I work with. Everybody's out there, and I've got so much going on. You'll see my face pop up in different areas, or you'll see some work that I've, contributed to popping up in a place that you wouldn't normally think you'd see me. But that's, it's important to stay diverse, and behind the scenes, I talk to these people all the time. There are no days that go by where I don't talk to either Mike or Brian Minnick or Third Phase of Moon or Rich or, any of these people, Paul Asteria, you name it. We all still work together, and we bounce ideas off of each other, and we see what seems sound for each other's projects. And if there's involvement, then we go, down that route. But yeah, for now, that's what it is. Now on Facebook, I go by my nickname because I locked myself out of my original account some years ago. No idea how to get it back in. I don't know what the password is. Quincy Roser is what you'll see on Facebook, and that's me. But yeah, obviously the world knows me as Michael. That is my birth name, but I had to go with the nickname there. But there's a story behind that,
It's okay. Yeah, I got you. Do you know Sean David Morton? I think she says you look like him.
No
I
shit,
guess
I'm not familiar.
no, he's still famous. He's a famous guy, maybe.
I'll look him up.
I don't know. So yeah. So anyway, yeah. Hopefully, I know we spoke about it briefly about maybe linking up and doing a
Mhm.
little documentary.
Yes,
A Bigfoot type thing or element. Whatever will encompass in that. But I do think, we're gonna make that happen sooner than later.
absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I love working with you every time, no matter what it is we do, because we've done things outside of when we went to Indian Island and we had limited time there. I knew I wanted to do something, you know, I knew I wanted to do something else for you that day. I was like, we gotta get out there. So anyway, I want the Belize expedition. I will search for the elusive surfing Bigfoot. Mike Johnson says, "Hey there, Mr. Rosa."
Hey, Mike Johnson. He's another one of my right hand men, right? And he's up there in Canada, but he does some fantastic artwork for the thumbnails. And I actually am sitting on one that I'm going to be using that Mike designed. It's beautiful. That Doc Skinner from 10 oh shit, it's not 1091. What was it? 1028 Productions. He'll be on at some point in the future here. Just gotta link up with him, and that's mostly on my end with scheduling and so forth. He's ready to go anytime. So yeah, Mike Johnson. Thanks, brother.
Yeah. Good shit. Good shit.
Oh, yes.
All right. Thank you all, Sapphire Elf. Welcome back to the club. I don't know what happened, but you're back. I'm always late to the show. That's all right. I want to thank you all for being here. I know we brought up Misty. Rest in peace. You know, Black Lotus Productions, rest in peace. Kerry Arnold. We lost a lot of great people. They're not forgotten. You know, they're not forgotten. You know, just as long as we remember them, you know, no matter what, like we just gotta remember them and just keep driving on. And you know, they're here with us. They're hanging out in chat, just like they always were. Thank you all for being here. Literally, when I tell you, like, it means the world to us, because I know it's kind of corny and I say it a lot, but like, you literally could be anywhere in the world. Like, so when you choose to come in here, like, and you click on YouTube and you click in here and you hang out with us for an extended period of time, like that means a lot. Like, it really does.
Absolutely.
It means a lot to us. It does. So, blessings, thank you, and then Michael, thank you for being here, bro.
Thank you for having me.
I know we could talk forever. We always do. We have a million angles and different avenues we go down. I hate that I get so weird and awkward when I hit the live button, but anyway.
Oh, you do this fine, brother.
I hope everyone comes and checks you out because you got so much to offer, and you'll continue to have a lot to offer. There's so many different things you do. Every time you step out and you go to a location, it's so beautifully done. Like, really, really well done, well thought out. You know, I mean, your audio is always on point. Your B-roll, I learned what B-roll was from you, and all sorts of, you know. So,
thank you, Mike. I really appreciate that, man. And it's an honor to be here and honor to work with you since day one, buddy.
Yeah. Well, you know, I like people who keep it real. I could work with that. So.
Yeah,
Genuine as hell, and great guy. The Scotty B, always great to have you here, brother. Thank you. All right, my friends.
Hold on 1 second. Just before you close, I want to say something to Scotty B real quick. Hey, buddy, listen. I have not forgotten, you know, what you've done for us. You know, when we went out, it was not this past year, but the year before. I really appreciate it. I know I've thanked you for it before, but you know, there will be an acknowledgement for you in this documentary coming up, because you were very helpful with what you were able to do for us. And I'm going to be honest, we were able to eat. So, I mean, like Mike says, you know, sometimes we go out there, we just kind of hope for the best. I mean, we were all chewing on a few birch, you know, sticks out there in the woods. And next thing you know, Brian comes around, or it was Mike, whoever it was. I think it was Brian. And he says, look, Scotty's been very generous, and now we can go to the grocery store and get something to eat. So, hey, man, thank you so much. I appreciate you, Scotty B.
Yeah. Put gas in our tank and food in our bellies. So
that's right.
Mad respect. Yeah. Mad respect. Thank you. Everybody who does things like that. I don't think you guys understand how far it goes. Like, you know, thank you. All right, guys. Blessings. Thank you all so much for being here. Stay safe. And please go check this guy out. See you guys on the next one.